Welcome to Ready, Set, Grow, a monthly podcast of the Loudoun Education Foundation. I'm Danielle Nadler, Executive Director of LEF, and I'm so thankful today to be joined by Grafton DeButts. Grafton is a member of our Board of Trustees here at LEF, and he's also Director of Strategic Growth at a small local tech company called Strongbridge. I'm so glad to have you today, Grafton, and thanks for being up for this. We appreciate it.
Awesome, Danielle. Thanks for inviting me. I'm glad we could do it. I'm glad we could do a podcast so I can wear a sweatshirt.
Yeah, that's right. Oh man, that's total December podcast costume or wardrobe. I should have wore that. And I know
it's a cozy podcast today.
I know. I feel like winter arrived just a few days ago, and I'm like, all right, here we go. But that's okay. That's okay. There's a lot of good stuff in December. We're going to chat about our Fueled program. But first, I wanted to just kick us off with, Grafton, you, I think, are the first member of our Board of Trustees to be on the podcast. So what prompted you to join the board, to say yes to this call to service?
The easy answer is you asked. I would say I
might have bought you coffee to warm you up, nudge a little bit.
The more insightful answer would be I had the chance to, after working for the chamber for 15 years, I didn't get to do a lot of nonprofit service, mostly because I was also working for a nonprofit. And even though there's no rules against doing both, it's for sure challenging when you're concerned about raising money for your organization to then do it for other organizations, especially in my role, because I was in a development role. Now, since joining the private sector with Strongbridge, I have that opportunity, really seeing all the great nonprofits out there. You had invited me to be a volunteer on the communications committee, which after doing that for a number of years, that's how I got to know the mission of Loudoun Education Foundation. And I'm very passionate about those in our community facing food insecurity, facing housing insecurity. I mean, those are things that I worked on at the chamber for so long. So after serving on the communications committee for a couple of years, and then being asked to join the board, I mean, it was a quick glance at the calendar, but other than that, it was an easy yes for sure.
And I know our board members, you came to mind for several reasons, but just your work in the community. Actually, Grafton and I met maybe 15 years ago now, several years ago, when I was a journalist and Grafton was working at the chamber. I had that opportunity to interview him on occasion and be at several chamber events. So you came to mind both with so many relationships that you have in the community. I know your family going back to your parents and even further, just as longtime Loudouners. And then I also love that your wife's a teacher, you're an LCPS dad with 2 kiddos in LCPS. Would you share a little bit about that aspect of your work and passion?
Yeah, I mean, my kids are fourth generation, third or fourth generation LCPS students, actually. I think about it. My great grandfather had property. He had a general store that he ran in front of what is now the torn down Regal Cinema in they're in Countryside.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And they had sold that long before there was real development out here. And my grandfather was a dairy farmer, so I guess technically he probably went to high school in Herndon, but my dad went to County and then Valley. I then went to Valley, and now my wife is a teacher at Heritage, and my son is a junior at Heritage.
That's awesome. I love that idea that yes, you have a heart for service, but it's certainly personal with your family so involved in the education system, and your wife's a rock star teacher.
Sure.
From what
I hear. Believe it or not, Ken Colbert, which is a name that is known in Western Loudoun. Some know it just as the name of the elementary school, but Ken Colbert was my dad's science teacher.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he was my principal.
Cool. Oh man. I love that. Especially with so many people moving in, every year into Loudoun, it's fun to to talk to someone who's just multi-generation. My family, we're kind of newbies in Loud a little bit. We moved here 15 years ago, but we've told our family who lives in South Dakota and California, like, we're not leaving. So if you want to see us, you need to come come here because we just love it. So when folks join our board of trustees, we encourage them to join one committee. We kind of say which one of the committees, whether it's the classroom grants or governance and policy, that's exciting, which one both fits your skill set and something you're passionate about. And I think, Grafton, you came to us and said, I would love to be on the fueled committee. Am I remembering that right?
No, you're not. You were misremembering that.
Shoot, did I go to you and say, we're going to need you to chair the fueled?
No, you also did not pressure me into it. But no, when I joined the board, I had already checked the engagement box. I was on the communications committee, so it was great. But in my first ever board meeting, the then chair, my first meeting was a number of people's last meetings because of board term limits, right? And so the then chair of the fueled committee, he was rolling off the board, which due to bylaws left a void, not on the committee, but as chair of the fueled committee. And it was my very first meeting, we kind of went around the room and said, hey, the fueled committee no longer technically has a chair because we need a chair who is on the board. And I have a rule in first meetings never to volunteer for anything.
It's a really good rule.
Because I tend to be a serial, when there's a need, I have no problem jumping in and being a part of it. And so the ask went out and I kind of sat on my hands, and then my head, if you've ever done this, in my head, I just started to count. I was like, okay, I'm going to count to 10.
That's so good.
And if nobody volunteers, now all of our board members are great. And then, and many of them have checked that participation box in other ways. So they all have. And so after 10 seconds, nobody volunteered. And I said, I don't know what this role is, but what you didn't know is I have a real heart for food insecurity. Yeah. It's something that has always ached at me a little bit. Just the thought of a student who their school lunch is the best meal of the day.
Yeah, right.
Now, if we all think back to our school lunches, at some point for many of us, they become inedible.
Ours were rough as a kid. They're better now, but mine was rough as a kid.
Right. But that's not everyone's experience. Mm-hmm. And when you realize that, it really puts a lot of things into perspective. Yeah. And then think, well, what happens in the summer? Yeah. What happens on holidays? Mm-hmm. What happens when the school is not there to provide that meal? And that's just one meal. Most of us eat 3 or 4 meals. And so I was kind of an easy mark when this fueled opportunity came up.
Yeah.
If it was the finance committee, I could have counted to 10,000. I would not have volunteered for that role.
Yeah.
But because this is what it was, I did not know the duties of the role, but I knew this is my alignment. This is what I want to do.
That is really cool. A general reminder to folks, Fueled is our program that serves about 2,000 students and rising a week through meal bags and in-school pantries. And those students are at more than 50 schools throughout LCPS. We work really closely with each school's family liaison. There's actually an app now where they order what they need. And it's really, our team with Grafton as well has really done a lot of work to improve that communication process to make sure needs are being met at all the schools. We have 2 staff members running the day-to-day of the Fueled program. Kirsten is coordinator, and then Courtney is assistant, but is also going out and looking for grants and successfully winning grants. She's an incredible grant writer. So all that to say, in your role, what have you seen, or what has your experience been like? What have you learned about food insecurity in Loudoun? What have you thought about the Fueled committee?
A couple things. The team's awesome. I mean, and actually, I'm not going to answer your question for a second because I think it's worth noting for anyone who listens to this and thinks about volunteer roles. You oftentimes get pigeonholed in volunteer roles with the things that you do in your professional life. So whenever anyone looked at me, they thought, let's get Grafton on a communications committee. Let's get
Yeah.
Grafton. I've been in business development my whole life. They're like, let's get him on on our development committee. Honestly, it's the last thing I wanted to do because sometimes I just don't want to do, I do
Yeah,
it.
because you did it all day at
You
work.
do it
So, yeah.
professionally. Yeah, exactly. And what I love about this committee is you work, you know, you lift boxes. You show up on Tuesday as a volunteer at 5 o'clock with boxes of food and it looks like a pantry if you've ever been in one. But when you at 6:30, you are looking at 10 pallets of packed meal bags. And we're talking of roughly 1,500 meal bags that your team packed in 90 minutes. You sweep up and you go
It
home.
is incredible. Yeah.
For most of us, especially in this day and age, we take our work home. You know, we take our work home mentally. Especially if you're in a development position, like
Mhm.
it doesn't stop. So to be able to participate with folks and get to show up, and then 90 minutes later, you go, holy cow, look what we just did. And that's not even thinking about the impact of how, the teams of people that are then delivering that. I'm sure we might talk about that later. Yeah, the LEF team's incredible. They make it really easy for a volunteer to come in. And that's been really fun because I've realized how we're very different. I mean, there's a reason I don't do that professionally. Um, I'm not logistics minded. It is a logistics challenge every week. And that's not really my skill set. But I have been able to come in and go, well, let's talk about volunteer experience. Let's talk
Yes.
about what
You've
it's like
done
when somebody comes through the door.
Yeah,
I
you've
always
helped
like
us
to
with that.
say, what is it like to be on the other side of me? I think about that. And with this
Mm.
situation, it's kind of like, hey, what is it like to be on the other side of our pack night experiences? So it's been fun to work on some different things and create some volunteer leadership roles, but wouldn't be possible without the great staff that makes this
That's
volunteer
cool.
job easy, or at least if not it's not easy, but it's frictionless, maybe is a better way to describe it.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. It's the time you're putting in, you're seeing, okay, this is time well spent. And um well, talk about a board member that just rolls up, you roll up your sleeves so much. And one thing that I feel like I've learned as Fueled it used to be called Backpack Coalition. It used to serve about 500 students a week, and now it's grown to more than 2,000 students a week. And I've seen really our team working on building partnerships to sustain that growth. And I think just on any given week, taking a minute to think about, yes, our board members volunteering, and then volunteers, just whomever, signing up for those Tuesday nights. Then I wanted to share with folks that Amazon every week for free dedicates two of their trucks, two of their drivers to drive all those meal bags to the schools, more than 40 schools they drive out to. And then there'll be a company like Apple Federal Credit Union, or trying to think of others, so many, Northrop Grumman, that will say, hey, we're going to pack tonight. And they'll bring a team out to pack meal bags. And then, of course, the partnership with LCPS to hear about the need. And I have to mention, Loud and Hungry Relief provides us free warehouse space. We share their warehouse in Leesburg. Just all those things that for each of them, they're like, no, it's good. This is what we do. This is what we can do. But when it's all together, it's just peace. It's really this tapestry of it's a super effective,
Oh, that's
impacting
why I mentioned
thousands. So
logistics. I
cool.
mean, it's
Yeah.
from the space provided by Loud and Hunger Relief to there's probably at least about 50 regular volunteers that participate
Right.
in the Tuesday
That's
pack.
incredible.
There's also, because we operate local in-school pantries at, I want
Mhm.
to say 17? How many schools?
Yes, I think we're about 17 now.
So somewhere in there. There's volunteers that show up on Wednesday that pack their cars with pantry items to then go stock
Yeah.
those schools' pantries, to the Amazon delivery drivers who are picking up our pallets and delivering
Mhm.
those meal bags go into backpacks, primarily at the elementary
Yeah.
school level. So, you're talking about coverage of lots of schools and,
It's amazing.
thousands of kids, plural. I mean, those are 1,500 meal bags just at the elementary school level, not including what's happening at the pantries. And then guess what? On Friday and
Mhm.
Monday, the LEF pantry is restocked, and
Yep.
it happens again.
Yep. Blue Ridge Area Food Bank
So
delivers our food on Fridays, and yeah,
it
it's
it takes
a
well over 100 people who are active in the fueled pantry, really the fueled ecosystem. It takes well over
Mhm.
100 people for
Yeah.
this thing to operate as consistently as it does. And yeah, I think it's important to recognize that.
It's just incredible. Thank you for recognizing that work and supporting it. And one thing that I've really been proud of for that fuel team is they've stepped up as there it seemed to be like there was a need for improved communication among other student food providers. And while LEF's fueled program is the largest, we might be going after similar grants as other smaller organizations who are also providing food. And so we were approached a couple years ago from 100 Women Strong to kind of nudge a little bit, like, hey, you all need to lead in this area to make sure that there's not duplicating of services. So Kierslyn worked with Jennifer Montgomery and Erica Huddleston at Loudon Hungry Leaf. And now there's this master spreadsheet to make sure that all 100 schools are covered, but they're not covered by two different organizations
Sure.
providing the same service. And that's just been huge. And now the Loudon Food Providers Group, which Kirsten and Jennifer lead, Kirsten and Erica lead, they host an annual food insecurity summit. It has a name. I can't remember the exact name. And again, getting all those folks around the table to say, frankly, LEF doesn't have the resources to serve all 100 schools. We can do about half the schools right now. But we're so thankful that St. Matthew's Church can take on 4. And, let's all chip in, but let's communicate to make sure we're not all going, to make sure all 100 schools are covered. So
Sure.
just again, community
For
coming
sure.
together to serve kids. I love it. I'm excited. We're just coming off of Giving Tuesday. We were able, with your all's help, to raise more than $8,000. So knowing that the fundraising effort has not ended because we have 6,000 meal bags to fill for students this month at about $2.50 each. So our goal this month is $15,000. Grafton, what's a good way for people to get involved and help us get over that
Sure.
goal line?
I think it's really important to understand for folks that food pantries, and it's not just fueled. It's not just fueled. It's all the food pantries that you could be potentially donating to. You can go to the store and spend $100 on canned goods, non-perishables that you want to donate. Let's just say you go to the store and you're like, hey, I'm gonna donate $100 by buying $100 worth of groceries, and I'm going to take it to my local food food pantry. What folks really need to understand is that if you make $100 donation to that pantry instead, now you're not bringing the physical bag of food anymore. But if you make $100 donation, most of the pantries in our area, and I'll speak for
Mhm.
Fueled, they have access to, let's just say, special purchasing power,
Mhm.
where that $100 that you're buying, they can buy 4 times as much food with that.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
know that, this is drive season, it's Thanksgiving, it's Christmas,
Mhm.
all the nonprofits are driving on various things right now. But I would just highly encourage folks, just consider the monetary donation. It's not as fun. Yeah, maybe you don't get your kids involved putting stuff into the bag and
Yeah.
taking it. Or if you do that, sure, do it. But also consider um and I would encourage you, make the monetary donation, because they're not only multiplying your purchasing power by 4, but
Mhm.
they're also able to buy the things they need.
Yeah.
And typically they buy
Mhm.
those things in bulk, and then they're able to supply, um, kind of let's just say they will have a consistent supply for the folks that they serve. versus a little
Yeah.
bit of a hodgepodge of what were in the donation. Some
Yeah.
donations are great. No one's going to turn away donations, but it's really important for folks to know that our local pantries do have access to different purchasing means that will multiply every dollar you donate by 4.
Well said. And it's interesting when I was hired at LEF, almost going on 5 years now, I thought when they said we can provide a meal bag for a family, a meal kit over the weekend for $2.50, I thought they were fibbing. And I'm like, we got to change that marketing. That's not real. It's real. They're not fibbing. We're not fibbing because of that. You're right, Grafton, that partnership with Blue Ridge Area Food Bank and just that power to buy in bulk at cost is really incredible. So thank you. That's something that I learned being here, and I think it's something that a lot of people may not know about, that impact. And then just kind of it's December, what are y'all doing with the family? Are you taking some time off work, or what's on the calendar this month?
Got it. Yeah, we uh it probably doesn't surprise people. I'm local, so my family is also local. Well, my wife's family is also local. So,
Ah,
um
nice.
it's a blessing and a curse. I would say 90% blessing. But yeah, we start Christmas Eve with my family. We do Christmas at home with our 2 boys, and then we
Fun.
head to the in-laws for Christmas with them. There is no shortage of very rich Christmas foods and
Yeah, you
candies
gotta
and
do it.
stuff, and then we spend the next week kind of downshifting.
Good
But
call.
yeah, actually this year my wife's having a minor surgery, but it will involve her being off her feet for the next month or so.
Man,
And so we are lying low this
yeah.
Christmas,
Get some board games out.
which is definitely new for me. I'm saying no. I'm declining all the corporate Christmas party invites. I haven't gotten any personal Christmas party invites, so
Oh,
I think I've already been
is
taken
that
off all of those lists. Um, but all the office Christmas party stuff, we're
Yeah, it's a busy
kind of lying
season.
low. We're gonna watch a lot of Christmas movies. Do you watch Hallmark Christmas movies?
Yes, a little bit, but
Yeah, I'm probably the worst offender in my house. Whenever I'm like, well, let's pull up Haul Out the Holly or the new one, Champagne Problems. I highly recommend Champagne Problems. Very funny.
Elf is on my list this weekend. Home Alone's always on my list. So those are definites. Grafton, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about everything from the Loudoun Education Foundation, food insecurity, for all your work, stepping up, running down to the warehouse to help out the team, shooting videos on Tuesday night on Giving Tuesday. He ran over to help us shoot a quick video, and just you're an MVP board member and community member. So thank you for everything, and have a happy holiday.
Sure. Thank you. Hopefully people find this brand of community support and strange humor enjoyable.